I feel like I'm it's just like a badge of honor for me because I'm gonna be known as the person that got Pat to take his jersey out the rafter.
Hey, literally though, dog. You know what I said? Like, I pull out the vintage Carolina Panther hoodie. I haven't been rocking really no Panther stuff lately. So I said I pull this out for you. Pull out the old hat.
Hey.
Just to look out for you.
Let's
boy,
go, man. I appreciate that, man. Pat, what's up, man?
Not much, bro. Nothing much.
Wake up in the morning, I'm focused in on what really matters. And these rappers still chatter as if it even matters. Stack money like books, I'm on my next chapter. Cause at the end of the day, what are you really after? 5% of my salary goes to charity. I'm engaged to success. Who'da known it would marry me?
When we gonna get you like back on official, man?
I'm be honest, I'm thinking next season, bro.
Okay.
I'm really thinking next season, man. I'm in a better headspace. Personally, work starting to cool down and starting to, become a little bit more manageable. And if I can get things right, bro, I'll be back next season. And I'm motivated and I'm loving my team a little bit more now. So,
okay.
That's just what I'm saying. That's exclusive for you, bro.
That's what's up, man. Let's talk about it. Tell me what you're in love with, man. What do you see that, and I mean, we can start wherever you want. Like, obviously, the elephant in the room is Bryce Young. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And, I've seen you tweet a few things as of late. And one of those things, like, you had said something, and I don't remember the tweet, like, specifically, but it was something to the fact of, like, how much more do y'all want him to do? Like, what else do you want to see? Like, I got my opinions on that, but we're going to start there. Like, go deeper on that. Like, what do you think you've seen that you don't have to see anymore that maybe other people need convincing of?
All right, so let me back up a little bit. All right, so let's just talk about Bryce and the situation he came into and this organization. All right. Of course, Bryce, first year in the beginning of this year, he looked kind of crazy, right? Yeah. He looked real bad, man. But I'm be honest, I ain't never gave up on my guy, though. I never gave up on him because when you look back at what he has done throughout his young career in school and in college, man, like, how can you doubt that, man? You know what I'm saying? So for him to win the Heisman and for him to carry a team like Alabama, and I hate to say carry because he didn't carry it, but to see what he did to the Georgia Bulldogs, who was an elite team at the time, and for him to just kind of fall off, it had to be something there. So then if you look at what the reputation of the Carolina Panthers has been when it comes to these QBs, dog, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, we all seen them look like trash coming here, right? So I didn't want to give up on Bryce because I know it was there. You know what I'm saying? I was scared for him because I didn't want this team to kind of destroy his career, man. But that man, he kept his faith in God. He continued to smile, you know what I'm saying, through it all.
Come on, Pat. Come on, Pat.
I ain't gonna preach on this show, dog. I ain't gonna preach on this show, dog. Okay. But I knew it, you know what I'm saying? And then he got benched for Andy Ray Rifle. I can't even remember the guy's name.
Yeah. Andy Dalton.
He got benched for him and came back and looked so much better. Now, I know the numbers because that's what people look at. They look at the stats. I know the stats don't tell the story, man, but anybody with eyes can see, dog, what this dude is doing on the field to be his size. For him to, you can see the game start coming to him, and you can see why all the experts knew he was going to go first. You know, or I ain't gonna say all, most of the experts knew he was going to go first. It was something that, and we starting to see more and more of that for him to have command. He processing the game a little bit faster. I think that was his problem early on.
I agree.
The NFL might have been a little bit too fast for him, and he was trying to process it. And now we starting to see that engine cook up. He is going to be a problem, man. And yes, what more do you want him to prove that, hey, he the franchise? You don't want to just throw the baby out with the bathwater with what we've been doing with the last QBs. And don't get me wrong, I have been, part of that crowd that say, hey, man, get poor little Sammy out of here, man. He ain't the guy. Oh, get Baker, Batted Balls McGinty out of here. He ain't the guy. daggone Teddy Bridgewater.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's what happens when we become a little bit impatient with these players. Now, granted, those were vets. This a rookie, dog.
Yeah.
This is second year.
Yeah.
Where the patience at for this guy, bro? You know what I'm saying? You never know what might happen. And
really
we starting
don't.
to see him. We start to see him mature. The game is coming to him. He gonna be a problem. I'm good with Bryce, man. I'm good with Bryce, man. I think once he get those weapons around him, and we got to remember now, this a super duper young team. This is a super duper young offense, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we see the potential there. I see the potential there. If you don't, you just a hater. I mean, that's just all what it is, and it's okay to be that. But he the future, no doubts about it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Pat Coletrain. I mean, I love it, man. Hey, listen, man, you talked about it. You said maybe not necessarily in stats. Oh, in that too, in stats too. I heard a very interesting take. I want to play something for you real quick. So I heard this take, like literally just today. Listen to this.
With 263 passing yards against the Chiefs and 298 this past Sunday, Young became the first Carolina quarterback with the consecutive 250-plus passing yards and no turnovers since 2012 when Cam Newton did it.
Since 2012, Pat.
Wow. See? People want 300 and 400 game. I mean, 300 yard and 400 yard games, but they're not looking at the complete picture. That's crazy, bro.
Since 2012. Pat, let me tell you what's in there. From 2012, we got 2015 MVP Cam Newton. We got 2017 67% completion percentage Cam Newton. We got 2018 6-2 until his shoulder's blown up Cam Newton. And in that time frame, every quarterback, including him, has not thrown for consecutive 250-plus yard games.
That's crazy.
Without a turnover. That's nuts. To me, like, look, I have been deemed a Bryce apologist, and I'm sure that those who deem me as such will probably be like, yo, you bringing Pat Coletrain on here to spread more propaganda. Man, call it what you want. Call it whatever you want to call it. Like, Pat, you can see it, man. Like, the boy got benched and came back, and it clicked. I mean, I have a conspiracy theory, and Duncan and I talked about this. You know what I think it really was, man? I think that, and there was a stat that I heard today that kind of backs this up a little bit. Not meaning that it's true, but it backs up my theory. My tinfoil hat conspiracy theory is that I do think that there's something to this whole situation that happened with him and his, girlfriend in the offseason, right? But I also think that him trying to force passes, his two interceptions in the two games that he played, right, before he got benched, was when he was targeting Deontay Johnson. And I really believe that Deontay has the kind of personality where it was like, they built him up like crazy, bring him in, hey, man, you're the ex-receiver, all this kind of stuff, right? And it's like, and we'll go to another topic that kind of surrounds this as well, but like, they bring him in for all this grandiose, opportunity, which he had it, man. And look, the dude is talented. I ain't taking nothing away from it. Like, he a route running specialist, all of that, right? But I also think that he came with an expectation, and you're coming to a situation that's a complete rebuild. You're working with a guy that's got a new coach. He's essentially a rookie again, right? You know what I'm saying? Going into year two, got a little bit of experience, but it's a whole new offense. And I think he was pressing. Trying to get passes to him because it just happens to be so ironic that the picks that he threw, he was targeting his number one target at the time, Deontay Johnson.
What do you think about that? I mean, honestly, that makes sense, man. I guess I never really thought about it. It always, I always questioned why they got rid of, because that whole trade was surprising to me. I think, matter of fact, shout out to Chris Jenkins with Charlotte Vibe. He had asked me to do a show with him, and I didn't even know what happened until I got on his show. That it was so the whole trade was a surprise to me. But now I'm seeing where Deontay Johnson, his where his story has taken him. He on another team now. So
yeah, he with the Texans. Yeah.
Yeah, so it must be, I don't know what it is, but the guy must be had some type of, like you say, some prima donna, maybe some prima donna in him or something. And Bryce trying to force the narrative of, you know, Deontay Johnson coming on, and everybody had that expectation set high for Deontay, like he was going to be that number one guy, and like we won that trade. So maybe that may be it, man. But honestly, when you look at where Deontay Johnson is now, man, it must have been a whole lot to that story. He must be some type of weird guy in the locker room, bro. For them to just,
it's gotta be, yeah. For it to flame out like this, for you to go to, I mean, now, look, I get it. You go to Baltimore, you're not gonna get as many targets. But like, I said this to somebody today, right? Like, there's a guy at my job who is a great dude. Right. But I'm like, yo, wherever you go, there you are. So it don't matter what's happening here. It don't matter what's happening over there. You're there. You know what I'm saying? And you are going to be you wherever you are. Right. Because eventually it's going to be something, the new wears off of a situation, and something's going to make you disgruntled. If you quit on Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh and you see what he's doing this year, what y'all think he was going to do here, man?
Crazy, bro. He must have been about to do the same thing, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
he probably was going to do the same thing, man.
I think so too.
That's crazy.
So, all right. So we started at the beginning. Now, obviously, you were a big fan of us drafting him, as was I. You know what I'm saying? Like, do you feel like last year, because I know people are like, man, don't make excuses for him. And look, I can understand that from people's perspective, especially when you culminate 6 long years of mediocrity to now it's like, okay, y'all give away the farm, and he's supposed to be the guy that comes in and changes everything. Even David Tepper says that, you know, nut crazy junk he said, talking about, you know, well, he can win with routes. You know what I'm saying, or whatever like that. I'm like, well, you don't know. Like, I'm sorry. Yeah. So I'm like,
hey, but that was like with route. Yeah, man, that was too
hand gesture and all, right? But like to say that, like, do you feel like last year he got a fair shake? Because I'm gonna tell you, man, I know the excuse train is going. I don't, man. I really don't. I think that the way things were set up, the best situation for him last year would have been for him to be benched and just learn and let Andy go out there and get beat all the heck. Because I do believe that he doesn't have the kind of personality of like a Cam Newton or even like a Lamar, any of these guys, where he can like kind of command the locker room. Like, he's gonna have to grow into that. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's so true, man. I think you see the age of football we in now, where we expect the rookie, the first round pick. Oh, you got to start the first season, man.
Yeah.
But what would have made sense, like what you said, was for him to sit a year, and it might have been too much for him, man. On top of, I think the NFL might have been too much for him. On top of this raggedy organization. I'm sorry to come on your show where you know, where you talk about the Carolina Panthers, but that's the space I was in at the time.
Yeah.
So, and Carolina Panthers, they were raggedy last year. You know what I'm saying? As far as the whole organization. And I think he was just not prepared, man. His head coach didn't prepare him. Yeah. His GM didn't prepare him. His owner didn't prepare him. And he had everything stacked up against him, man. So, that's just how I feel. He came into a bad situation. He was just thrown into the fire with no type of help, man. And I think what I'm seeing now, and I don't mean to jump ahead, but what I'm seeing now is the organization kind of recognizing their mistakes. And I think they're trying to correct them again, like they've been trying to do. But they may have gotten it right. I'm hoping anyway. They may have gotten it right now. Bringing in somebody like Canales, who can be a little bit more soft players coach type guy, you know what I'm saying? To kind of bring him along. I think also what we saw when he got benched, like we talked about when he got benched throughout the season, he needed that. I think if we would have did that last year, he would probably be a further along. And I'm gonna say this too, he should have played in the preseason mode. That was, man. I ain't gonna get too upset, and I don't want to get off the rail. But he should have played in the preseason mode. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's what we saw in the beginning of the regular season. Him still trying to work through those issues, man. Yeah. And that's what kind of irked me about this thing. Sometimes we just don't do what makes sense. And now I think like you was saying, after he done had his time going through the fire, I think we start to see that growth a little bit more.
I agree. I want to show you something else too. So it's funny you talk about Canales, because this was an article that David Newton had wrote for ESPN, and I'll read some of this, right? So it says, there's been major doubts about Young's future with the Panthers, not only because he was benched, but because Canales' messaging to the media, team, and those close to Young. And then somebody close to Bryce Young said, I don't know if the guy believes in Bryce. And this was literally just a month ago. And so to me, like, this has been part of my problem. So I talked about this with Dunk. Man, at some point, like, I do feel like Canales has to take some of the responsibility of, like, the questions that are coming in his direction and be open and honest about the dialogue having them. Now, I will say this. You got to worry about what's in front of you, like, no doubt. But it just doesn't seem like he's gotten his full support. I saw a stat that said of the last 26 quarterbacks, 20 of them that had a coaching change, 20 of them ended up on different teams. So it's not in the favor of a quarterback that is on a team where a team is, brings in another coach and GM or whatever like that to stay on the team. But you also don't see changes like this. The last time we saw this kind of change, I'm going to tell you just how far back this was that this happens, where a quarterback was benched in his second season, was when Terry Bradshaw was benched for Joe Gilliam way back then. And then he came back and won 4 Super Bowls. You know what I'm saying? So, like, it can happen, but it's very rare.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
So
it makes sense, man.
My question is, as far as the Canales situation is concerned, like, I like Canales, and I think Dave Canales is going to be a good coach. I think he's still trying to figure a lot of things out. But is there any part of, like, the way that he's handled this messaging, especially based on, Davis Newton article that just came out today, that bothers you at all?
I'm gonna be honest. My personal opinion about Canales, man, I do feel like he's a little bit. How can I say it, bro? Like, I can't tell if if his personality is actually like this, man, or he just be putting on for them. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Like, are you really like this? Because those type of people, you got to watch them when the door closed. They do some real snaky stuff, but he does come off as genuine. But at the same time, what we got to remember, we still in the same situation we were in. Well, not the same, but we're in kind of like the same situation we were in when we had the Nebraska coach. I ain't gonna say his name. Yeah, I didn't want to say his name.
My bad.
But well, you got a new head coach who's learning how to be a head coach. So I feel like he's going to make those mistakes in the eye of the media, in the eye of fans, where he's perceived to be one way, and he say the wrong thing, and everything he say get analyzed, man. So honestly, I'm in the same situation when it comes to Bryce being a rookie. I'm trying to allow this man some grace. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to assume the type of person he is. I would like to see a little bit more. I guess aggressiveness. I don't know if that's the word I'm looking for, but I would like I want him to be a little bit more stronger. You know what I'm saying? I've seen clips of him in the locker room and stuff like that, but I hope he's the type of coach that can be a player's coach and show that he's a little bit more supportive. Because what's crazy is he comes off as a super positive guy that loved everybody, but people still read into it. Honestly, I never even thought that he didn't. I never thought that he didn't want Bryce, or he don't trust Bryce, or whatever. But as you can see, people are reading into it like, he don't really want Bryce, man. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully, he can work on his image. He can work on his responses, and people don't have to question if he's a supportive coach or not.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. And I think that. It's funny because I'll segue to another topic based on what you just said there, because I feel like for certain guys, like, there's this idea, and I've heard this before, that Bryce Young hasn't faced pressure or can't be coached hard. And I'm like, if you look at his history, especially at Alabama, man, Nick Saban, I don't know how much more tough it can get. So I think that there's room for Dave Canales to have, and we're not inside those rooms, so we don't know what everything that's going on, right? As far as how he's coaching. But based on what Baker Mayfield said about him being an optimist bully, based on the, stuff that we've seen in the offseason as far as like the blueprint and all that kind of stuff that we saw, it does lend the reason that he is more of a soft hand players coach. But I can make an argument based on history that works for us, right? And I'll go into that later because I do have a more deep dive on that. But I do feel like for somebody it will work, that more players coach approach. And that's Xavier Legette. I feel like, man, this dude has talent that's just unbelievable, right? Like when you watch the route that he ran where he turned C.J. Gardner-Johnson around on that play, the last play of the game, it was either Gardner-Johnson or Darius Slade, one or the other, right?
Right.
And he kind of got knocked off his route a little bit, and so because he really would have, if he wouldn't have got knocked off his route, he would have walked into the end zone. We'd have walked away beating the fourth best defense in the league and a team that many people think might win the Super Bowl, right?
Right.
But I feel like part of that is starting to shoot his confidence. Pat, you a South Carolina fan. Like, what's your thoughts on Legette, man?
Man, I really like Legette, dog. I was really high up on. He wasn't, my first choice at, wide receiver, but I like the guy, and like you said, he got a lot of potential. He's a rookie, man. This is why I just don't get. And then also, I think he can't. What also might be a distraction is he getting a lot of attention basically because his voice, and where he from, and him eating coon and all of that. And then you see them all on the podcast because everybody want them on their show so they can listen to this man talk about dollar bill. Like, I don't think he's ready for all that. You know what I'm saying? But but I think it's I think he's gonna be a solid receiver. Let me say, I hope he can be a solid receiver. I just think it's gonna take time now with all the distractions, and like you said, he might he might be a little hurt right now because now everybody's saying he a bust. He dealing with his little hand injury. You know what I'm saying? So I like Legette, man. I'm not gonna beat that guy up, man. Even though he done dropped the ball. No pun intended. Well, all pun intended. A few times. Yeah. We could, that we could have won the game or had us in position to win the game, man. So. I like, and not just because he from South Carolina, he from the PD. So I'm not going look, I'm a ride with him, you know what I'm saying? And he played for the Gamecocks. So I'm a ride with him until the wheels fall off this thing, man. But I ain't no blind fan. But again, I like to give all rookies, on my show I used to be kind of critical of players and I talk about players, but people don't realize I don't really start trashing players until they like their fourth year, in the league. And then if they still trash, then we're gonna talk junk. But I'm not gonna trash no rookie or no player in his second year, man. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, you seen his routes. He made some okay catches, but it's gonna take time. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna take time. And I get it, Panther fans. We don't spend enough time. We trying to win now. But realistically, allow him to grow. The potential there.
Absolutely. Especially, I think, if I'm not mistaken, he's somewhere he's on the lower end of the receivers as far as like rookie receivers and their passing yards or their receiving yards and stuff like that. But like, I really believe, Pat, and look, this ain't the Deontay Johnson bashing show. I don't think that we draft Xavier Legette if the plan was for Deontay Johnson to work out. Like, if he worked out how he was supposed to, then Xavier Legette would look like he's supposed to look to us. A developmental player. He was we moved up.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Right. Like, he should have, he likely would have been a second-round pick somewhere else, right?
I agree.
Deontay Johnson is supposed to be your ex. Now, what I will say is this, and this was stuff that was coming out of camp because I was seeing the videos that, people like, shout out to for Panther fans only, of course, Dunk and many others were sharing out of training camp, right? And these videos that I was seeing, man, like, you could see that there was some stuff that he was shocking them on, like his, step out, his first step, explosive off the line of scrimmage, the rocker step once he's getting ready to shift on the route, whatever like that. There was things that necessarily didn't show up on his scouting report that we saw at the Senior Bowl, and it's just like, oh, so, okay, he might be a little bit better than we thought, right? But still, like you said, all this newfound fame and expectation of like we haven't had a real true X receiver since Smitty. You know what I'm saying? If we really just keeping it a buck. So you wearing all that expectation, that's a lot to put on him, especially when that wasn't even the plan. So I'm like you, slow down. Like, he's going to develop. He's going to get better. Look, Josh Norman was benched, bro. Josh Norman was benched second year in his career. Like, and then he came back and had, was all pro, Pro Bowl, all that kind of stuff. Got a big contract, everything. And I know many people would be like, yo, he's the best corner outside of Chris Gamble that we've ever had. But look at what it took for him to get there. Look at the pathway, right? But again, our lens is through 6 years or 7 years now of mediocrity. So everybody going to get it. You know what I'm saying? Unfortunately.
Like, look, we need to win now. You know what I'm saying? We're looking at these other teams who got rookies who are shining and stuff like, oh, we should have been doing this. But you got to realize we're not that type of organization.
No.
I think we really are meant to build. You know what I'm saying? We need to start developing plays, and that's our problem. We lack in scouting. We lack in player development. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's been our problem these past few years. And it's just time to I think what we looking at right now, I think this is an okay product. You know what I'm saying? To start with. We don't need to start over again. You know, reason to get upset with Xavier Legette and go draft another wide receiver with the first round pick. And the freaking defense need help. But anyways.
Yeah.
But ain't no need to throw out the baby with the bathwater. I think our offense, we got a pretty good foundation with Bryce, with Xavier, with JT, and I know folks kind of disappointed with Jonathan Brooks, but I feel like we in a good position right now, and I don't think it's time to panic. Now listen to me. Now that me saying that, the one that always used to panic. I feel like where we got right now.
Right.
We straight. You know what I'm saying? We straight.
Yeah.
But I trust Xavier, man. We'll see what happens. Like I said, next year, you know what I'm saying? Now, if all off season he on everybody podcast talking about Coon and Dollar Bill, and then next year, then we might have to have a conversation.
Yeah.
But right now, he looked better than what Jonathan Mingo looked like. You know what I'm saying? At least. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? At the least. So let's rock with that. You know what I'm saying? Let's just rock with that.
I couldn't agree more. It's funny you say that too, like, and I'm not trying to disrespect, another team or whatever like that or situation, but like CJ Stroud, oddly enough, struggling, you know what I'm saying, right now.
Yeah.
Some of it is pressure, but man, that same video that I just referenced, I was watching a Kurt Warner version of that same video where they were talking about the contrasting, between week 9 and now situation between Bryce and CJ Stroud. And it's like, it's not just the pressure. Like, he's not seeing the field. He's not seeing some throws or whatever like that. And I'm like, yo, I'm old enough to remember. Like, I talked to one of my homies. I was like, man, this dude was literally going to every podcast, all kind of stuff. I was like, bro, this going to be a problem. If he starts struggling in the season, they're going to be on him, bro. And look, here we are.
I think CJ problem was everybody had started gassing up. He don't realize he was motivated. And I said this whenever he was drafted after Bryce and he was acting all mad and didn't want to hug Bryce. I said, oh, this right here going to fuel this dude to be good. And that's what his motivation. But not everybody love him. He on everybody podcast talking like, oh, yeah, I'm a top five QB in the league and all type of stuff, man. But you don't realize you got a year up under your belt. You under the same offensive coordinator, so everybody hip to what you doing now. You know what I'm saying? And now we starting to see the actual separation between him and Bryce. I mean, I say this, the separation is closing a little bit more now. Everybody's starting to see, well, wait a second now. Maybe he's not as better than Bryce Young as we thought. You know what I'm saying? The talent is a little bit closer. You know what I'm saying? And I said, give it another year. You're going to see that Bryce, we picked the right QB. You know what I'm saying? I know people upset about the size and all of that, but I promise you, when you look at Bryce's game compared to CJ Stroud game, it's just different. I like his processing. I like his confidence. I like his command. I think we got the right one. And CJ Stroud, he's showing now. You know what I'm saying? I hate it for the guy because I still think he's a good QB. Now.
I do too. I think he's a good kid.
He's a problem.
QB. Yeah.
He a problem.
Oh, yeah.
But I think he allowed himself to become a little bit distracting. He kind of opened himself up a little bit to criticism. So he, hopefully he fixed that.
I think he will. And like you, like really what's starting to happen is the scouting report starting to show. Some of the things like drops were not necessarily an Xavier Legette issue. But there were other issues that he had as far as like route running and things like that, separation. Those things are starting to show up, right? Well, the same thing with CJ Stroud and Bryce. Like the knock on CJ Stroud was like, yo, he struggles under pressure, right? And last year you didn't see that as much because he wasn't as under as much pressure. Well, they've had some injuries this year. They lost a lot of their top targets this year. You know what I'm saying? They lost Stephon Diggs for the season early. They lost Tank Dell for the rest of the season. Nico Collins dealt with some injuries. So, like, yeah, you're going to struggle in a situation like that. Lo and behold, the guy that we drafted, who they said didn't struggle with that kind of stuff, now that things have started to slow down for him, he will murder you against the blitz. Like, if you blitz Bryce Young, you are going to pay for it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Yep.
With Adam Thielen. Bro, can you imagine with Thielen,
man,
Pat?
Listen, man, they don't even see it, dog. They do not see the potential, man. I promise you, if we get one more speedy weapon for Bryce, it's going to be a problem, man.
It's going to be a huge
I love
problem.
what the offensive line doing. I'm not hating on nothing the offensive line doing. They have their games, but I love what the offensive line do. If we can continue to build upon that, people. I mean, I don't know why people don't. Y'all, you know me. I don't do the X's and O's thing, but I do see stuff with my eyes. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's more important than the X's and O's, Pat. Is this what you see?
Right. If you can't see the potential this offense has, man, I don't know what to tell you, man. Especially being led by Bryce. You brought up a good point about C.J. Stroud. I watch a Houston Texans. I can't even remember who they was playing, but like you said, now when he's under pressure, he looked like a totally different QB.
Totally different. Yeah.
I mean, I'm like, man, this ain't the same guy. I mean, overthrow. I'm like, this ain't the same guy. This is not the same guy. And now you see the Houston Texan fans talking about, we ain't got no O-line. Wait a second. When we try to tell you that with Bryce, then it wasn't you ain't believer. But now we need an offensive line. Man. But again, I think he's a solid QB.
Yeah.
I think
it's crazy, Pat,
QB.
because like you got the O-line situation with the Texans. You got another quarterback in Indianapolis that a lot of people wanted who hadn't even played a full season. You know what I'm saying?
That's crazy.
And they questioning effort. I saw an article, like Pat McAfee went crazy on him, right? And then I saw like a article just recently, I think it was like yesterday, talking about how, you know, there's players on the team that were like, that came up to him and was like, hey, we need to know that you're bought in. Bro, when Bryce Young got benched, man, that man was out there running scout team for like Jaden Daniels. You talking about a Heisman Trophy win? Like, this is what, Pat, look, I know I'm passionate about this. And I know some people be like, oh, what the young kids say, you glaze and all that kind of stuff. All right, cool. If that's what you're going to call it. Bro, I'm a Heisman winning player. Let me ask you a question, Pat. If that would have happened to Cam Newton, how do you think he would have handled that? You think he would have handled it like that?
Never. No.
And I know that's some people's problem with it is because they feel like he doesn't have a lot of bravado. But like to go do it and be benched and go what he went through, like Pat, I watched Frank Reich. I was telling somebody this the other day. I said, man, Frank Reich got to Indianapolis. He had Andrew Luck for one season, right? When I saw Frank Reich at that pro day with his phone out like this, looking at C.J. Stroud, all I could think of in my mind was in Frank's head, he like, oh my gosh. Because very rarely in life do you get a second opportunity at something this great. And I'm looking at what is going to be my version of Andrew Luck and C.J. Stroud. And then they make me take Bryce Young. And it's been over for me. You did not see that same energy at Bryce Young's pro day. Not even close. Right?
Wow.
He was sitting back kind of, stoic, just, arms crossed, looking, oh, okay.
Yeah.
You know?
So let me ask this now.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you are one of the ones that's under the belief that Frank wanted C.J. Stroud. And I mean, I ain't saying nothing wrong because I am. I mean, honestly, I don't know if I ever got the chance to ask someone this, but I never, knew why people thought that. But now that you say, I guess he was at the pro day of C.J. Stroud, seemed a little bit more engaged as C.J. Stroud, but then when he was at Bryce Young's, he wasn't very. So, do you feel that was is that the main reason why people feel like that?
I think that's part of it.
Okay.
I think people keep trying to put something on Frank that they can't put on Frank. And I saw Alex on Twitter today, one of my partners on Twitter, Alex talking about this. And he talked about how Scott Fowler had said on one of the Panther podcasts or whatever, I can't remember which one it was, that he was like, no, Frank really wanted Bryce. Like, Frank was sold on Bryce.
Okay.
Look, Frank's a pastor. So if Frank say that, like, I know what Boomer Esiason came out and said, but like, look, something Pat, you're a Christian. I'm a Christian. You know, there's some things bigger than, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you telling the truth, you telling the truth. Because we recognize who we tell the truth for, right? We do our work unto the Lord, right? So like, I don't think he had a reason to come out and lie. What I will say, though, is that I do believe that part of his, hey, I'm in on Bryce, is more because the brass came to him and said, hey, this is who we want. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And
okay.
it was like, I really don't have much.
I can feel
choice.
you on that then. Yeah. I feel you on that. I can feel you on that. And I can see that. I think the people and I kind of probably spoke to it a little bit, but I think the people who do believe that Frank wanted CJ Stroud is kind of like what you talked about. He was at the pro day and then all of it. And then also I think some of they wanted to believe that was, that's the reason why we fell in, because Frank Wright really wanted CJ Stroud, but upper management said take Bryce. But if it happened the way you explained, that would make sense to me. Then. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was more he was leaning towards Bryce because GM and the upper management kind of wanted him to take it. So yeah, that's just something I was just curious about. But yeah,
no, it's cool, and I know that some people would probably say like, well, no, it's been proven. Not really, because he's not come out and said it himself, which I always say like. Because Josh McCown, I think he's working with Minnesota. So, Josh McCown ain't worried about this. He having all the success in the world. But, like, it will be interesting to see if one day he decides to come out. I don't think Frank would do this because Frank, Frank is a man of integrity. So he's not going to come out and do anything that's going to make somebody else look bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially if Bryce were to just completely flame out. But I do think at some point he will come out and speak and just say, like, maybe I did have another direction I wanted to go, but then I was convinced. Like, I got new information. I watched tape. I went to the pro day. I might not have shown the same kind of excitement, but I walked away like, okay, maybe we can make this work, At least that's my thought. So yeah. But as far as Legette is concerned, man, I think Legette's going to be fine. I think it's just going to be a developmental arc. I hope that he gets with some people in the offseason, to learn. Really, I think the next step in his development, as much as it is the X's and O's, is learning how to be a pro. You know what I'm saying? Because something, you don't have to say yes to everything, man. You ain't got to be. I know your accent is cool, but like at some point it does become like people might be making a caricature out of you instead of like seeing you as the man you really are.
Yeah, man. Especially if your game ain't adding up, bro. It's only gonna make it worse, man. You know what I'm saying? But I appreciate him being open. Not ashamed of where he come from, you know what I'm saying? Because, again, he come from the PD area. Shout out them boys. I'm be honest. Yeah. When I first heard them talk, I'm like, they don't talk like that down in Mullen. But I guess they do. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause I know folks from Marion and Mullins and there. I'm like, they don't talk that thing. But I guess they do. But being from there, he just kind of candid and talk how he want. And he kind of put himself out there. And I hope his game kind of start to translate on the field. So, like you say, he don't become a caricature and then people can continue to kind of trash the guy.
I'll tell you this, Pat. One thing that does excite me about all this stuff that is happening with him, boy, if he does hit and this offense turn around, man, you talking about us being a story. Because now you got personalities. It's not we don't become the Spurs where we become really good, but there ain't nobody that you really like look at and be like, that can be a star on the team. Bro, if we become good, he will be a mega star.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And I think that's what we've been missing, man. You know what I'm saying? I think if Tepper, if he's smart, if he want to put butts back in the seat, man, that's what you need. And
absolutely.
And you make a good point. I used to talk about that a lot, man. I felt like we were kind of being stripped from having any type of personality, try to make us this conservative NFL team again, where you don't, ain't no real stars and everybody just, yes, sir, no, sir, we love the Lord. That's good, but you need somebody to kind of stand out, man. And like you said, if we can become a better team, we got the personalities now. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
All we need is one killer dog type personality in the defense, dog. We'd be good to go.
I agree.
We'd be good to go.
So that brings me to the next point, Pat. Culture. You talked about it. I'll start this with this. I saw a picture. I don't have it to share, but I'll just tell you. So from the time that David Tepper took over, really up until I believe right now, there hasn't necessarily been a culture because he's been trying to figure a lot of things out. I think that he's at some point been narcissist about it. I think he's changed, and I'll tell you why, right? So when we had the Germany game, I saw a picture, and the picture was one of the, I think Ashish, the guy that is one of the radio announcers, Luke Kuechly was in the picture, John Beeson was in the picture, David and Nicole Tepper, Steve Smith, Julius Peppers, and Thomas Davis, all in this picture, right? And not just them. Jonathan Stewart was there. There was a whole bunch of Panther brass there, right? Obviously, there was one person missing. We can talk about that at the end of the show. But here's the point. The hat that he had on, keep pounding. I'm old enough to remember when that was something that they were trying to do away with. I'm old enough to remember him covering up Jerry Richardson's picture at Wofford, you know what I'm saying, with a tarp, right? All kind of crazy stuff that he's been doing. I think he finally gets it. I think he's finally starting to understand, like, hey, there is something about this place here that I can't come in and necessarily change. And I feel like there's one more piece to that, and I'll talk about that in a second. But I want to get your thoughts. What do you think it will take to really start to change the culture of the Panthers back to a winning culture?
Like you said, I think he's starting to get it, man. You know what I'm saying? I think what Jerry Richardson built all those years, it didn't come from nothing. You know what I'm saying? It started somewhere, and Jerry Richardson realized what this team needed, what this region needed, and how the team needed to be built. I don't blame David Tepper for trying to come in. I don't think he was trying so much trying to get rid of what we used to have. I think he just wanted to do his own thing. And I don't blame him. You pay all this money for a team. I'm be honest. If I pay all this money for a team, I'm changing everything too. Okay, I get it. Y'all like keep pounding and stuff, but I'm at least try. It's my team. You know what I'm saying? But so I don't blame the guy. Excuse me. I don't blame the guy, but I think he's starting to realize, man, keep pounding means something, man. You know what I'm saying? These folks in the South, they need to feel connected to this team, man. They paying all this money. I can't just be taking their money. This ain't up north. Well, you can just charge people, and it's like, okay, this is just what to pay. No, people need to feel connected to the team. They want to feel like it's a family. You know what I'm saying? And I think he's starting to realize that he bringing. I don't think he really turned too far away from the older players. I think he tried to keep them somewhat close, but now you starting to see him bring them a little bit more into the fold, like you said, with the picture and stuff like that. And I think he's starting to step out the way. And I think he's starting to realize, shoot, he make more money if he kept the old culture. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's what you're starting to see now. And hopefully he don't get in his own way. I hope he's not a narcissist. I think he's just he might be a little bit too confident, but I don't think he made this much money by keep doing the wrong thing. You know what I'm saying? I think what he's starting to do now is realizing what's going to work, and hopefully we can continue in that direction.
I agree with that. That's all great points. Yeah. So that brings me to a question. All right. I am a believer. Like, look, I don't like to be – I put out a video recently that the Carolina Panthers should call Robert Saleh, right? Okay. It's hard for me to do two things simultaneously. Number one, I ain't talking down on no black coach. I'm just not. I know the history. Yeah. I know – look, if they got to implement a rule for you to be able to get an opportunity in the league, then you clearly there was a problem, right? So you ain't going to hear me talk down on no black coach, right? Yeah. But I could still recognize when maybe – there's a fit issue, a scheme issue. Yeah. What's your thoughts on Navarro, man? And do you think we should retain him?
This is my thing, and this will kind of irk me, dog. And I'm trying not to get mad on your show.
You good? Go ahead.
Okay. Hey, but I talked about this, and I'm just joking. I ain't gonna get mad, man. But I talked about this before I retired. This was around the draft time. This was during off season and stuff, and I just noticed like, what we doing with this offense, man? I mean, with this defense. I get it. You know, we got new offensive mind head coach, and we doing it. But we need to start replenishing this defense, and not with just these Band-Aids that they giving us. You know what I'm saying? It's because it don't make sense. And I said, Evero, tell them you need some help. Stop letting these people, because you remember at one time, fans was believing, Evero was just this great defensive coordinator. Some of them even wanted him as head coach.
Hey,
you know
I bought into it, bro. Me too. Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody was making it seem like it don't matter who we got on the defense, that Evero was gonna be able to, they was gonna fit in the scheme and all of that. Don't get me wrong. When it came to Josie Jewell, that was one of the reasons why we signed him. I was like, man, I get it, but I don't trust him because he gave us DJ. Evero wanted DJ Johnson too, so I don't be trusting that the people that he wanted to give us. But shout out to DJ Johnson, he balling now.
Yeah, but man. Got into a car wreck today too, man. Prayers up to him and his family.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, wow, I saw that on X. Yeah, it's wild.
Oh man. Well, yeah, I hope I'm prayers up to him and his family. But what do they want Evero to do with this defense, dog? Coming into this season, I can promise you, it can't be. I hope no fan coming into this season thought this was going to be a top 5, top 10 defense, dog.
I didn't.
There's no, especially after Derrick Brown. After Derrick Brown went down, you know what I'm saying?
103 tackles gone. Yeah,
right, gone. Yeah. I definitely didn't expect J.C. Horn to ball out the way he did. Let me say this: I didn't expect J.C. Horn to be as healthy as he was this season. So I didn't expect. I was like, oh, this defense ain't gonna beat it. But it turned out JC was probably one of the best players on defense. We did have some good pieces, and don't get me wrong, the defense they have some good moments. But if you had some real elite players on this defense, you probably would see a better result. So no, I'm not blaming this on Evero, y'all. Again, we a young team. We spent a lot of money on the offenses trying to get this offense together. I felt like the defense was an afterthought. Even with the signing of Jadeveon Clowney, you know what I'm saying? I don't think they thought Josie Jewell was going to work out like that. But he turned out to be okay.
Yeah, he saw.
But linebacker wise, I felt like we definitely slacked. I knew that J.C. Horn couldn't cover the whole backfield by his doggone self. Excuse me, y'all. Sorry. I knew he wasn't going to be able to cover the backfield. So my expectations for this defense. So some of the games where we actually won and the defense looked good, I was surprised. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So, no, I'm not gonna blame Evero, and I hate for him that fans is kind of turning on him and ready for him, because honestly, I'm willing to give the guy another year. I don't think he should get fired. I want to see him get a fair shake, put some real pieces, give him some real pieces, and then we could talk. You know what I'm saying? If Derrick Brown didn't go down, I probably would feel, I'd probably be like, oh yeah, this guy, you need to get it together.
Yeah.
But at the defense in games where I thought the defense was going to get smacked, they actually turned out okay. You know what I'm saying? So I think he'll be okay. I like Evero. I'm willing to give him another year. That's just where I'm at now with an entire team anyway. So I'm good with Evero, bro.
I'm torn, Pat, because everything you said there, I've said before, right? I said that in the previous video, which is why some people kind of flamed me in my last video, and they were fair for that. Like, I had one guy that started, and salute to him, he started a dialogue, and he's like, man, what do you expect Evero to do with, all this lack of talent that he has? Like, in the Tampa game, you sat everybody down, and listen, I get that, right? And I do think that there is something to be said for continuity going into the season the next year with the same thing in tow. But here's really where I've talked about this a little bit on a previous live, but now I'm gonna really spell it out. This is the reason why I think you make the change. Pat, like every company, I don't know where you work and you don't have to disclose that, but there's not a company that exists that don't have core beliefs, right? They do research and development over years, right? You'll hear of a company that, like, you might hear a restaurant that started, or some kind of, logistics company or whatever that started and they gone within 2 years, right? And then you hear another company that lasted 30 years and they still going strong. They come up with core beliefs. They do research and development to find what works. And then the only thing that you have to do is just replace the talent each time, whether through retiring or quitting. Replace the talent each time. The Pittsburgh Steelers, with Chuck Noll, were a 4-3 base defense. And then when he retired, they moved to a 3-4 in 82, and they've been a 3-4 ever since. Man, listen, we had, I'm going to tell you some of the people we had on the roster all at the same time. We had Luke Kuechly, right? 4-3 middle linebacker. We had A.J. Klein, David Mayo. Both of those linebackers went on to be great in other places. We had Josh Norman, we also had guys in the background like Bené Ben-Wickery was not the greatest, and he got smoked.
Man, he was a dog, man.
Yeah,
Look,
but he was. He could play.
Folks be trying to get in on Bené Ben-Wickery record just because of that one game.
That one game
just
against
that one
Julio.
game.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's
but that
right.
was a dog, man. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you good.
Go ahead.
But when you had Chris Gamble, you had Richard Marshall. You know what I'm saying? All these developmental pieces. We had a core belief. What was our core belief? Running game, Jonathan Stewart, D'Angelo Williams, Deshaun Foster, Stephen Davis, Chuba Hubbard, Jonathan Brooks, and 4-3 big balling defense. And we got away from that when we shifted to the 3-4 because we don't understand what it takes to get the personnel to do that, Pat. When you got a core belief, go back to it because you got a framework to build from. Yes. So if you bring in someone like a Robert Saleh who runs that base defense, you already got guys around the building that can tell you what to scout to get this. Dan Morgan was a linebacker in the 4-3. Luke Kuechly, Thomas Davis, John Beeson. We got away from the core belief, and I feel like you got to get back to that. It's no coincidence that Matt Rule gets fired, Steve Wilkes takes over, Al Holcomb start calling 4-3 base defense, and we was one game away from the playoffs.
Yeah. You make a good point, man. You make a good point. Yep.
It's crazy. So, but yet and still, I agree with you when you say, like, look, you still have to factor in. I don't think there's a world that exists where you give up almost the most points. Like, Pat, if Atlanta hangs 38 on us Sunday, man, we give up the most points in NFL this year.
It's a wrap.
Most of the NFL it's a wrap.
It's a wrap, bro.
But I'm with you. Yeah. I still think two things can be true. I think Avero can be fired here and go be great somewhere else. And then we can bring in somebody that fits better what we're trying to do here. What we need to do here. Not what we're trying to do, but what we need to do.
Yeah, and honestly, it would make most sense, too. You know what I'm saying? Canales get to choose the defense coordinator that he want, you know. And I definitely can see that happen. Like you said, if this game turns out pretty bad defensive-wise, I can definitely see him up out of here, man. Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest, it don't matter to me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. It is what it is. But I'll be curious. I know Robert Saleh is high on everybody's list of defensive coordinators, and that might be his calling because definitely head coach ain't it. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I am curious to see. I'll be honest, I don't have no qualms anyway about it. If we keep Avero, I think it would make sense. He didn't really get a chance to. It was kind of unfair with the defense that he was kind of dealing with. But it would make sense if they got rid of him. So we'll see.
Yeah, I really hope the best for him, man, because I do think that, because, I mean, last year, statistically, we do have to just, he did post a top 5 defense statistically. The only problem is that when you run the 3-4, you have to have defensive tackles that have 2-gap responsibility. And we get gashed in the running game because you just don't have guys that are, like, really, like, outside of Derek Brown. Shy Tuttle's not a 2-gap responsibility kind of defensive end. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's good in as a guy that's complementary to a nose tackle, but I just don't see him taking on that much responsibility.
Right. I don't feel like we've had a true nose tackle these even.
No, we haven't.
I'll be honest. I like Derek Brown, but I don't feel like we had a true elite nose tackle to even run those 3-4s. Every time we've tried it. So I agree with you. I wish we would just go back to what we used to. You know what I'm saying? What worked. So yeah, we'll see, man.
I think I believe that really that move was a Tepper move, because he comes from Pittsburgh. He's seen that for all the years he's been there, and he's like, look, okay, so we got a chance to draft what I believe was a good player, but more a situational pass rusher in Brian Burns, and you bring him in expecting him to be that version of T.J. Watt. And he just never lived up to that bill. You know what I'm saying? And got the money. I mean, look, we brought Hassan Reddick in for 1 year, and he outperformed him. Like, no slight to, Brian Burns, but it's just the fact, right?
Yeah.
So I think that was part of it, but I do think that they're starting to learn. Now, I will say this. This is where I'll caveat and pivot, because I don't know how much you've been paying attention to draft stuff, right? I know it's still, still in the season.
Yeah, let's see.
But I'll tell you this, Pat. If there ever was a draft that you want to create a 3-4 defense from, it is this one. because boy, Abdul
beast out
Carter,
there.
James
He'll
Pierce,
problem.
Mike Evans. Mike Green from
Yeah,
Marshall. It's some dudes
Big
out
problem.
there, Pat.
What? So what about interior defensive tackles and stuff? Who are higher on your list right now?
I know a lot of people like Mason Graham. I think Mason Graham would be
him.
he would be good in a 4-3, not necessarily a 3-4 as a nose. Besides him, I like the kid from from your school. What's his name? TJ Sanders. I like TJ Sanders.
Okay.
Yeah. Tonka Hemingway. I like Deion Walker from Kentucky. He's a freak of nature. I don't know that he would necessarily be a nose, but he could be a really good defensive end in that scheme, right?
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, there's some guys.
I'll keep a lookout, man. I've been following college a lot more this year, man. You know, yeah, I'm gonna go check them guys out too. But yeah.
So all right, what's your score prediction for Sunday for Atlanta? Plus, this will come out after the fact, so whatever you say, they're gonna smoke you if you're wrong because it's after the fact.
Man, look, man, I ain't even on here. I don't even be on here, so
right.
They might email me on Twitter. Score predictions for Saturday
or Sunday. I'm sorry, Sunday. Yeah,
Sunday. I'm gonna go. I feel like it's gonna be a high scoring game. I'm gonna go 30-33, bro. That's what I'm gonna go with. I just feel it. Oh, we gonna win. Yeah. We gonna win. I feel like one player that I will trash, and like I told you at the like I told you earlier, I don't really like to trash rookies, but I will trash a vet, and that's Eddie Pennyroll. I feel like these past few games, he been looking kind of slack, so I'm hoping he has a better game this week. But I feel like it's going to be a high scoring game, 30-33. Yeah.
When you just said one player you get some slack, Pat, I would never forget this, man. I can't remember who it was, and I brought it up again. Like I think I added you like last year during the season or earlier this year during the season. But I believe it was somebody catching returns. Like it might have been like. It might have been Shaq Smith-Wade or somebody.
Yeah.
But, bro, I think you know what I'm talking about. You tweeted.
Yeah.
You said, hey, man, if you don't want to do it, just tell somebody.
Hey,
Pat, I
wish I could remember who it was, but whoever used to run and do kick returns, he just ran like he didn't want to do it. Like, I'm sorry. But, yeah, man.
Because I can hear it in your voice, man. And I was like, oh, my gosh. Like, I told so my homeboy Keith, man. I told Keith about that, bro. Like, we laughed on the phone for that for like 10 minutes. Yeah, shout out to Keith. Man, we laughed for like 10 minutes off of that. I was like, Pat, wow, bro.
Yeah,
man.
Like, because he ran like he didn't want to play. So I was like, please tell somebody.
Right.
Just don't get out there and do that, Chuck.
Right.
Man, I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry.
Oh, man. Pat, man, look, I think this coming season, this off season, it's going to be a lot of fun because for the first time, man, we going into the next season with the same head coach. You know what I'm saying? We going in with likely the same quarterback. You know what I'm saying? So I think that there's just so much to build from. And like you, I don't think that they need to go out and make, some crazy moves, but I do think a lot of the defense can be built in with free agency and the draft. And I do expect them, like, let me ask you this, because you talked about not going out and getting a big receiver. But let's just say hypothetically that once they really dig into the tape, I want you, there's a player that if you don't know about him, I want you to look him up. Let's just say hypothetically that Teteroy McMillan from Arizona, the receiver.
He dope. Yeah. He a baller. Yeah.
If they feel like, would you be mad if they felt like, you know what? We really see the potential with Bryce, and if this guy turns out to be the archetype of what he's compared to, like, how would you feel about that if they reached and took him? Because I do think it would be a reach, but what would you think about that?
Yeah, man, I don't think I want that. I mean, I mean, of course I'm a ride with it, but I just feel like we have so many deficiencies on this defense, man, and we lacking young dogs on our defense, man. You know what I'm saying? And for you to take a wide receiver We got so many issues on defense. I wouldn't like it, even though I want them. But sometimes you just got to miss out on these players. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I've been wrong about this stuff. You know what I'm saying? So if they did
we all
it,
have.
I'd be curious. I can't hate. I wouldn't be super duper upset because we still got an elite weapon, potentially elite weapon for Bryce Young. I'll just be concerned about the defense. But I feel like what then they'll do with the defense is start throwing all just nonsense at the defense. I really want us. I don't even want to even think about it. I don't want to put it out there. I really want us to focus on building this defense up, and building a young, fast defense, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I feel like you could get somebody like McMillan in the later rounds who has that potential. But I get it. You know what I'm saying? And so I can't. Again, I'm not gonna hate on it, but I wouldn't want it.
Look, I like Ted McMillan. I'm not so sure, man. I think injury is the only reason that Emeka Egbuka is not looked at as the number one receiver, man. Because he is, bro. He's legit. He is legit.
Yeah.
Like Jeremiah Smith got all the, accolades which he deserved, in that game against Oregon. But man, Emeka, like he creates matchup problems where you get a lot of one-on-one opportunities with somebody.
So do you
like
think?
Smith.
So do you think with his injury issues that he could fall?
No. I think that. Yeah, with what he's done in the playoffs, man, like especially if they win the Natty, I don't see that happening. I don't see him, especially not if he get down there towards like Kansas City, teams that could use a guy like him. No, I don't think he would fall to the second round.
Okay.
Yeah, it'd be a wrap. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
Yeah. So last question, man. All right. So, what is your wildest conspiracy theory going into the next season? And it could be anything. It could be, man, Panthers gonna have this record, or they gonna make this kind of trade or get this kind of player, or we gonna bomb out again, or Bryce gonna flame out. Like just conspiracy theory, Pat. What's your wildest conspiracy theory going into next season?
I would probably say that we gonna do like what I've been saying. We're about to throw the baby out with the bathwater. We're gonna tear something up, man, and continue this pattern of not being patient, not developing anybody from the players to the front office, and I just feel like we just gonna tear something up. You know what I'm saying? That's why I'm being less critical of my team now, because I think I feel like that's what causes them to make the moves these drastic moves that they make. Is because of the criticism. So they got to do these knee-jerk reactions. Oh, we got to do this. Oh, we got to do it. Let's just relax. You know what I'm saying? We don't have to trade away our first and second round pick to go get a elite wide receiver 1 or another play. Relax. I feel like we in prime position to run this organization smooth. You ain't got to do all this trading up and down in the draft. You don't have to gather all these picks. We good. You know what I'm saying? We got our quarterback. We got our young wide receiver, young tight end. We got a pretty good, sturdy defensive line. Offensive line that we could continue to build upon. Defensive wise, we got a long way to go. I know J.C. Horn contracts talks about to come up. You know what I'm saying? So that might be a little bit of a distraction soon.
Yeah, they got to pay that man quick.
Yeah, you're gonna have to pay him. Don't overthink it. Pay this man, dog.
Yeah.
Don't do nothing weird.
Yeah.
Just go ahead and pay him. Get him out the way. Like they did with Derek Brown. Don't just go ahead and get it out the way.
Yeah, I think they will.
Don't even play with it. You know what I'm saying? Don't listen to the fans, because I know that how fans get when they start saying, "Look, I need to get paid," and fans be like, "Oh, let me." That's why I'm glad that J.C. Horn was able to show and prove. But yes, I feel like, hey, if they're going to continue to on this pattern, one of my worst fears is that they're going to try to do something crazy and drastic and just kind of have us starting all over again.
Yeah, I think I can level with that. Mine isn't too far from that. One of them is just crazy. Like I told Dunk on the last pod, man, I was like, I feel like the wildest conspiracy theory, which when I read that article that I just saw, is that Dave Canales ain't sold on Bryce. and there's like some kind of draft day trade or something like that, and because there's some teams out there that have fallen, New York, the Raiders have fallen, where maybe they go out and, as crazy as this sounds, maybe they try to go out and re-sign Sam Darnold. You know what I'm saying? And then let Bryce go, elsewhere. I think that would be foolish,
man,
right?
That's be crazy. Yeah, that'd be crazy.
It would be. But or JJ McCarthy, because I think Sam Darnold, man, he made his statement like he's going to be the Vikings quarterback moving forward, right? So, maybe they trade McCarthy or something like that, and maybe he fits the archetype of what Dave Canales is looking for. All I know is this: if that conspiracy theory rings true in any way, boy, you better be right. Because if he goes somewhere else and do any semblance of what he doing here and start to become really good, it doesn't just make us look bad. It makes Dave Canales like, you fumbled the biggest opportunity you could have had in this league, and like, good luck trying to get another head coaching job and convincing anybody that you're trustworthy. Because boy, and I mean, he might even try to say like, yo, that was Dan. You know what I'm saying? But look, both of them. You know what I'm saying? Like, but hey, if you right and you hit, look, you look like a genius. So
but again, look at the pattern, man. Like, if you don't see that your last two QBs that you had, who looked like they was on their way out of the league because they was trash, they actually like bust. They actually balling right now. You know what I'm saying? So that right there should be evidence. Yeah. Okay. It might be something that we need to do before we get rid of Bryce, because this guy did not get to the NFL at his size off of just looks alone. You know what I'm saying? This dude is a baller. So I hope he's the type of coach that says that to himself and doesn't try to get rid of Bryce. I hope he find a belief somewhere, man. If that's the case, man, you know what I mean. But that would be crazy, though. That would be crazy.
It would be. That's why it's a conspiracy. That's straight tin foil on top of the head conspiracy, because I don't see that happening. My other conspiracy is that, man, we come out next year and, go like 13-4.
That'd be crazy.
You know what I'm saying? Like it just all, for whatever reason, it just all clicks. Maybe they do draft Abdul Carter and he, is a freak of nature, and it just all clicks defensively. Everything comes together, and we just, I mean, look.
But is that too hard to believe, man? I'm gonna be honest. No. At times, I look at this daggone offense, man. I be so happy. It's been so long since I get to the point where I be like, man, I hope the other team hurry up and score so I can see my offense again, man. You know what I'm saying? So whenever you say that record, it don't even seem that far from me. You know what I mean? And it's me now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna tell it. It seems like that is so obtainable right now, man, especially what we did with Philly, what we did with Kansas City, man. I know we got our behinds whipped a couple times, but the potential is there, man. Like you said, if we put it all together, bro, man, I'm telling you. I'm excited, bro. Like I said, that's why I told you early on. That's why it's motivating me, to come back. It's motivating me I love my team again. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully
I hope it does.
Hopefully they can.
I'm serious.
Hold on, bro. But yeah, hopefully it does. Continue to trend upwards. You know what I mean? Because we're gonna be a problem, man, and the love gonna be back into Carolina, bro. I promise you.
It is, and not just. It wouldn't just be that we would be a problem, Pat. I think once it's figured out this time, we have the opportunity to be a consistent problem, because it's not just the up and down, like, of, even the Cam Newton years, right? Of 12-4, and then 7-8-1, and then 15-1, and then 6-10, right? It's like, nah, we'll consistently be that 10, 11, 13, 14 win team that's always in the postseason, like every single year. Like, to me, right. Even if it doesn't necessarily turn into like Bryce being MVP, Bryce winning a Super Bowl, all that kind of stuff, if he steadies the room enough to be able to have us consistently winning, not just him, right? Because it's a team effort. But if he's part of that, if he's, then that's, to me, that's a win, and you made the right choice. You made the right choice, and moving up in the draft turned out to be a very smart decision.
Yeah. Totally agree, bro. Totally agree.
Pat, man, this has been an absolute joy having you on here, man. We we need you back, bro. I need them lives on Sunday mornings. Bro. I need them lives after the game, bro. You and Moni 2K arguing with each other and laughing with each other. We need that, bro. Man.
Yeah, man. No, man, it's an honor, bro. Like, hey, man, you got it, man. You know, of course, I love what you're doing, bro. I probably told you that 100 times, but man, you doing your thing, man. And yeah, I appreciate all the love, man. A lot of people, they want me to come back, and it's not because I just don't want to. I ain't had the time lately, bro. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But
life be lifing, boy.
Life be lifing, dog. Everything good, God good, Amen. But like, you just be busy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do want to come back, man. I know I'm gonna have to step my game up though if I want to keep up with you. So if we come back, we have a little bit of upgrades.
Ain't no look, stepping game up. That I love I'm as competitive as anybody, right? Like that's because that's just in my blood. Mm-hmm. But really, I'm all about community, man. Like I love linking up. It's very few podcasts out there that I haven't been on or am linked up with. You know what I'm saying? Other people like that. That really ain't me because I just think this community has a lot of we have one of the best communities of any of the sports teams as far as content creation is concerned. So I just want to see that continue to grow. And there's no more body, in my opinion, no one more important than the genesis of that than yourself.
What? Man, man, I appreciate that, dog.
Absolutely.
Man, I appreciate that, bro.
Absolutely.
Hey, man. Well, yeah, I appreciate the kind words, bro. You know what I'm saying? And I would definitely take that to heart, man. If I start back, I'ma definitely have you on, man.
Man, I would love to be there.
It's always been a challenge for me to have guests on, but I definitely have you on, bro.
That's what's up, man. Yeah. Well, man, this has been another episode of the One Carolina podcast, with my man Pat Coletrain. I'm John Farmer. And for the rest of y'all, man, keep pounding.